Please be aware this evening, if you are attending this meeting, our meetings are recorded for future viewing and we are privileged to gather on the traditional territory of the Kwakwaka'wakw. I'll call the meeting to order and ask if there are any additions or amendments to the agenda. And if not, a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
I'll have a council report regarding the seniors advocate visit.
Okay. So motion then to adopt the agenda as amended. Moved. Seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, item 4A, June 13th, 2022. We've got the public hearing minutes.
I'll move receipt.
We have to adopt them, right? Move adoption or just receipt?
Receipt should be fine.
Okay, seconder for that. All those in favor? Opposed, carried. And then we've got June 14th, 2022, regular council meeting minutes. Motion to adopt. Seconder for that? Second. Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next, we have item 5A, the Gatehouse Theatre final grant report. It's just there for information.
Move receipt.
Okay. Seconder? Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next, we're moving on to item 5B. We have a letter from the District of Port Hardy, request for financial contribution for a feasibility study for electric backup to Northern Vancouver Island. So this is coming out of a series of meetings with, I believe, every Indigenous community that not everyone that represents the Mount Robertson Regional District, but Nangis, Quatsino, Guatemala, Quagula, and all of the communities. And so they made a presentation to I believe Councillor Downey was there, to BC Hydro. BC Hydro sort of, I'm trying to think of a nice term, blew them off. And so the tack that they're taking now is to come up with a feasibility study and actually be able to go to BC Hydro and pitch ideas for backup power for the North Island. So they're looking for a contribution. They'll be applying to ICE-T and looking for a contribution from the communities. From us, it would be $2,065.70.
I move we make that contribution.
Second that.
Any discussion on that? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Which account is the money going to come from? Could you bring, look at the budget and bring a suggestion for us at the next meeting, and we'll ratify that particular portion then. Thank you. Okay, item 5C, Ninkish River pesticide use application. Again, that's there for you for information.
It's just for information.
Yes, it is.
Part of the Mayor Wickstrom,
Sorry,
is this not part of the public consultation process? They post it in the paper and anybody who objects, and then this is part of the process, just to notify us. And so I'm not objecting to controlling noxious weeds. I think it has to be done. I'm a little bit concerned that this is a very special application that only applies when the applications are going to be done in water. And so we already have a fairly significant application of pesticides that's occurring above this water line, basically. And I don't know how they're applying that. We're not looking at those applications. We're just looking at this one. And it concerns me that we're potentially putting these chemicals into our water. And I think it behooves us as a council to know a little bit more about this process. Whether we can intervene or become involved in it at this stage, I don't know, but I am concerned. In years gone by, there was many things that they used that were apparently just fine and safe and so on, and nowadays they're toxic. And one of the things that comes to mind is chemicals used for eradicating bugs and herbicides, DDT being one of them. And of course, we know that it's not used anymore. Agent Orange, not using it anymore. There's a reason for that. So I think we need to be interested in what's going on here. I'm not sure how we will approach that, but I think we need to approach it because this is, although not directly in our watershed, it's going into the groundwater, and we need to be concerned about that and about protecting our watersheds.
I can tell you a little bit that I learned from the regional district table, and that the Nungees First Nation have been consulted on this particular one. So my thought is that the risk of the spread of knotweed is greater than the other risks. It is a very invasive species, so the particular application of pesticide is what's being determined as the most effective in eradicating the knotweed. So just a little bit of information there. Any motions or anything out of that, or just
Move for receipt, receive and file.
seconder for that? Any further discussion? And as individuals, we're certainly welcome to write in as well and voice our concerns. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, next we have a request for a letter of support, item 5D from St. John Galbert Church. And they have supplied a draft letter, which our staff has graciously filled out for us. And it's not looking for any money, just a written letter of support from us.
I'd motion that we support their application.
Okay. Seconder for that? Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, next we have item 5E, again for information. The last of the payphones is leaving our community.
Move for discussion.
Okay, any further discussion, seconder for that? Okay, go ahead, Councilor Downey.
I would just say that, is this something that we could ask them to reconsider? I often, when shopping at the grocery store, do see people using this phone. It is used, whether, I'm quite sure, as it states, there is a decline in usage, but that doesn't mean it's not being used. And I would like to see us try and petition them to keep it there, or find what their stats they're basing their decision on. Like I said, I see people there all the time using it. So where do those people go then? Not everybody can afford a cell phone. It's presumptuous.
Go ahead, Councilor Cole.
Thank you, Mayor Wickstrom. They also took out the payphone on my property, and I've had this discussion over many years with TELUS. And yeah, basically they've got the statistics to prove it doesn't make money and it's not right in my particular location. But yeah, I'm a little confused, like this phone is presumably on the IGA's property, so it's like really, I don't see it as an issue for us. Like, why would we advocate? Maybe that IGA doesn't want phone there, right? So if this was on town property, then I could see us maybe getting involved. I just don't see the place for us to dictate a payphone that's on private property.
I guess my question is, well, why would they bother sending us a letter if it wasn't perceived to be of value or an impact that's lost to have some significance in our community?
It's, as far as I understand, it's just one of their steps. They need to notify people and give people a chance.
Okay, Councilor Mitchell, go ahead.
Mayor Wickstrom, I guess my concern is that telephone access is, I don't know if it's a universal right, but it's certainly a universal necessity. And I've many times seen people at that payphone early in the morning. Sometimes it's a fisherman or a tourist, somebody that's desperate to make a phone call to somewhere. And maybe it doesn't happen as much as they'd like, and it doesn't make a lot of money, and maybe we can appeal to the building owner and say, hey, would you object to this phone staying here and support us in asking for it to be kept here? And I think we need to make that approach. I think it's important for us to welcome everyone in our community, not just those who are sort of self-sufficient. There are those who aren't. They need to have an access to public phone. So
Somebody want to
maybe
put that in?
make a
Sorry.
motion that staff contact the IGA and, or wherever this thing is. I don't know where it is exactly, but, and talk to the property owner, the management, and see if they would support us in dealing with BC Tel.
If that's a motion, I'll second it.
Okay.
Discussion?
Let's see, sorry, I'm just gonna write down. You see that? Go ahead, Counselor.
Just, yeah, one more thing to add, like, if you want a phone, you can pay for it, you can have it, right? There's a cost associated with it. So we have that option. Again, it's not our land, but if we decided at the tourist office or something, we were gonna have a payphone there, and we wanted to pay X amount, and it's pretty costly. But they do offer that because suddenly when there's no phone, then you're going into the store to use their phone. So some businesses, they give you the option, at least in the past, they've
So,
paying for the service.
so in your discussions with BC Tel, they said if you would pay for a phone, they would
Yeah.
give it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Could you read back the motion, please?
That staff contact the property owner and see if they would support us dealing with BC Tel.
I guess we should change that to tell us. My apologies.
Yeah, that's right. So let's- And then
Petition tell us to keep,
Advocate?
A
Advocating or something? Phone?
Mind reading that out one more time?
Right?
That staff contact the property owner and see if they would support us petitioning Telus to keep the phone.
and it was the seconder, correct? Yeah. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
do we need a follow-up motion on that? I guess this is coming out on the 18th of August. So I'd like to make if staff is successful, I'd like to motion that if staff is successful, that we as a town follow through petitioning Telus to keep a phone located there.
Seconder for that? Go ahead. Any discussion on that motion?
The intention is as soon as possible. Councilor Down, is that the intention of the motion?
Yeah, there's a deadline of August 18th, so.
There's a bit of urgency then.
Absolutely.
Would you mind reading that out before we vote?
That if staff is successful, that the town follow through with keeping a phone at the IGA as soon as possible.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, next we have item 7A. We have statement of financial information. Had a chance to read it. I would like, mention, and I've already talked to staff, but, sorry, my counselor. Remuneration page, there's expenses, and I think there was some, yeah, missed, so the total now would be,
Yes, through the chairman. Mayor Wickstron's expenses would be $779, so it would be reduced down by that amount.
and were there any other corrections or anything noted in that, statement of financial information report? Any questions for our staff? Do we need a motion to accept the report?
This has to be approved by council.
Okay, so a motion to approve then the statement of financial information for 2021, moved by Councillor Cole, seconded by Councillor Mitchell. Okay, great. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, next, we're moving on to the item 7B, Chief Elections Officer. So we have a report from staff. We've had one staff over with us. We have a recommendation. As the Deputy Elections Officer, Laura Evans has previously conducted an election. It's recommended that she be appointed as the Chief Elections Officer and undergo any required training.
Make that motion.
Okay, seconder for that? Discussion? Great, call the question then. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moving right along to our Economic Development Manager Work Plan Report. And she's not with us today, but
Move receipt.
we'll proceed. Okay, seconder for that. Great, all those in favor?
I-
Oh, sorry, go ahead,
I
Councillor
guess I
Mitchell.
was looking for a little bit of discussion on that. I'm just wondering, is there something we need to do that we can get some actionable movement on activity on the housing file? Do we have anything going on that's going to cause some action to happen? Because this is just there's nothing wrong with it. It's a report. It tells us about activities, but what's getting done as a result of it.
I'll refer to staff, to Brenda. She's,
Through the chair. Councilor Mitchell, I've been working with our economic development manager. We do have a couple things in the works that we'll most likely be bringing to our next council meeting. I can talk about that later in more detail.
Cool. Okay.
okay, and moving on to we've got our 7D is fire operations report. Proceed. By Councillor Cole, seconded by? Second, okay, and any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then on to the harbor report.
Move receipt.
Proceed, seconder for that? Would you like to second it, Councillor Mitchell?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Move receipt, would you like to second that?
Well, I'd like to discuss it, actually.
Okay, so if you second it, we'll discuss it then.
Sure.
Go ahead, Councillor Mitchell.
I guess I'm curious if we're on budget, first of all, for all these different things that are going on. I know that we're not on the shower upgrades. They've told us that is going to go over budget. The electrical, it says it's ongoing, unexpected issues. Is there any costs that are occurring that aren't being recorded yet against this project because things aren't finished? Because we're right in the middle of our tourist season now. Is everything working for the tourists, the boaters that are coming in? Are all the facilities fully functional?
Yeah, I'll ask staff. Brenda, did you have any information on
Yeah,
that?
through the chair, as far as I know, we're on budget for these projects. Nothing has come to my attention that we're outside of that. I haven't seen really any invoices for the electrical schematic as lately, so I'd have to confirm with the harbor manager and I could get back to you on that.
Sure, I noticed we've done a temporary installation on the old cleaning station while the fish cleaning float is being constructed, and there's unexpected issues there. I'm curious, I guess, what's going on there. Do we have water everywhere where we're supposed to have water and so on?
So down, go ahead.
Just under the administration category, and this is probably just a query for staff, we followed up later. There's a significant number of late notices, warning notices, eviction notices We are all in the midst of paying our property taxes and we've all paid our utility taxes. Are we charging penalties on these late
Sure, so
fees?
through the chair, actually, the harbor manager and I have been working on with the collections agency. We're just in the beginning of getting that done, so we can start farming that out, so they can start working on our behalf. We'll also be putting the late fees on there, and any processing fees from the collection will be pushed back to people.
Do we use a collection agency for our property taxes and utility bills?
No,
Why are we doing this differently?
it was recommended from the auditors. It was one of their key findings that they suggested we use a collection agency to help with that.
I think it was because of the number at the
The
time
number,
as well. There was a number of them.
So we're putting that in place as one of the audit findings.
So historically, we don't charge service charges for late fees?
Yeah, we should be.
Okay, any other questions?
Thank you, Brenda.
Okay, all in favor of receipt? Opposed? Moving on to 7F, we've got the visitor experience report. I'd just like to make a comment that move receipt first. Second. Seconder. Here, second. Yeah, just great to see that we're trying to get a certification course scheduled. Has there been any success on that? Don't know. Yeah, I should have asked that question ahead of time. Yeah.
Sorry.
Are you talking about the pool?
Yeah.
Well, that already took place, did it not?
I don't know. So,
Yeah.
Like moving from the Red Cross to Red Cross to the new system? Is that what you're talking about?
It just says your certification course has been scheduled for June, which should give us more time. So it's. Yeah,
Yes, no, yes, sorry.
should have been was scheduled.
Port Hardy had
Okay.
Bronze Medallion and Bronze Cross, and quite
Okay.
a few young people were certified
Okay.
at that.
Sorry, there was a couple more
Yeah.
people that had just been certified and.
Yes.
It's just because I read has been, so
Yeah.
it should say was scheduled. Okay, great. Thank you very much. No. All those in favor of receipt? Okay. Moving on to item 7G, we've got the Tourism Commission quarterly report.
Receipt?
Good for that? Okay. Any questions? We have our liaison with us. Seeing none, then all those in favor of receipt on the tourism, or did you have a question? Oh, Councillor Mitchell?
No, I don't have a question.
All right, we'll move on then to item 7H. We've got our finance, the checklisting report. Any questions for staff? Okay, seeing none, then move receipt. Seconded. Second. All those in favor? Opposed, carried. Right, moving on to item 8A, we have the revenue anticipation borrowing bylaw 713/2022. I need a motion for fourth and final reading. A motion, okay, seconder. Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, moving on to item 8B. We have our zoning bylaw. I know that Councillor Barron wants to be a part of these discussions as well, but she's not here this evening. We do have it scheduled as on the committee of the whole, for the entire committee of the whole. I'm wondering for that committee of the whole, like what does council feel we need to be able to be productive? For example, planner, so on and so forth. Go ahead, Councillor.
I'm just wondering if we should rescind the second reading. I'm really struggling with, we're getting information in our box that technically shouldn't be. Yeah, so I'd like to make that motion right now.
We actually don't have to rescind the second reading.
I think we send a real good message to the community if we do.
Well, I can finish my sentence.
Sure.
We don't have to rescind the second reading. What we do, and I believed at the last meeting because of Councillor Mitchell's question about speaking with the public, that we had already committed to having another public hearing. And that would, and I will look at staff to make sure, but that would mean that the bylaw just stays at second reading. And we just continue on and we continue to have discussions, make any changes that are necessary, have a second public hearing, and then continue on the process. Go ahead, Councillor Mitchell.
The advantage of withdrawing the second reading is that when we did the second reading, when we had the public hearing, we made a very clear statement that no further input would be accepted. And we haven't had a clear statement that further input will be accepted. Taking that back would eliminate that, in my view. It would make a very clear statement that we're reconsidering this. Sitting at second reading where nobody's ever said, hey, it's wide open again. We can talk about the entire bylaw again, take input on the entire bylaw. That's never been stated in a public way that I've seen. And so publicly stating, we're bringing it back. We're not going to, the second reading is going to be canceled or it's going to be rescinded. It isn't going to change anything except procedurally it shows that we are reconsidering this and we need to reconsider it. Our public process during the official community plan was flawed. It didn't get everybody's opinions. It didn't get everybody's input. And so now we're going to have to go back and get that input during the bylaw phase. And that's a little bit more difficult, but I think we need to have an open house with opportunity for those who are going to be affected by bylaw changes, or proposed bylaw changes, to actually come and tell us what it is they're feeling, what it is they're looking for. And that never happened. And now it has to happen. So I think Councillor Cole, I don't know if there was a motion made, but I would support a motion to rescind it because I think we need to send a clear message.
So that's a seconder for it. I am going to ask staff. Is it necessary? I mean, I understand what you're saying about it would send a message, but also very clearly communicating to the public would send a message as well. Like, is it necessary to have to rescind the bylaw, second reading of the bylaw?
It probably would be the best way to trigger a public hearing. Once you get to second reading, that's when it becomes necessary to hold a public consultation.
Okay, there are other questions I just want to ask, is we could have had it on second reading and continued to talk and continued to talk and continued to talk. And then had a public meeting. So what's the difference, other than the message that it sends?
I don't know that there is a difference.
All right. Any other comments?
To the motion? I guess I heard loud and clear from the public at our public meeting. I absolutely agree that we need to have those roundtable meeting discussions. We didn't do that. And our zoning bylaw was driven from the OCP, which we did not have the kind of roundtable public discussions that we had I had envisioned as we went into that process. I don't know that we have to go back to first reading, but I do believe that we need to set a calendar, time slots for us to sit down and put into action and reconsider this bylaw with what we heard and with what we've been submitted. The fact that we have received more information is coming into our emails and people are still talking about this, says that there is more information out there and a public hearing will have to be held for any changes that are made, which are quite likely to be made based on what we've heard. So I personally would rather that we set our calendars to review the document and then set a date to hold a public roundtable discussion. And then based on that, come back and make our tweaks to this zoning bylaw and then go back for our public hearing and then consider whether we're going to go to third or not. Scrap the whole thing. I don't believe in messages just for optics. I actually want a calendar and I want a schedule of work to get done. So we can get through this.
Which was planned to come with dates to the committee of the whole for that purpose. I'm of the same thing. I don't think we need to rescind. I mean, I understood clearly that we can continue to make changes at second reading. But if we set those dates and we communicate with the public and the public knows, so. I agree that there's more process that needs to be placed. I'm not disagreeing with that. I just don't feel that it needs to be pulled. The second reading needs to be rescinded. That's my thoughts. Any further comments? And I'll call a question.
A question on what? Sorry.
Well, Councillor Cole made the motion to rescind the second reading and you said you seconded it.
Okay, I
Did you
didn't know
not?
there was a motion. I said I would if there was, yeah. Okay.
Okay, all those in
Gotta-
favor? Oh, sorry, go ahead. You want to ask a
Nope.
question? Okay,
Nope.
all those in favor? Opposed? Aye, so the motion is defeated. But what I did clearly hear is that when we come to the committee of the whole, we'll come with dates, suggested dates, and we'll hash those out and be able to communicate those to the public. I would say to council that this probably isn't going to be a light summer for us. This is something, the zoning is extremely important, especially if we're looking at doing any sort of development anywhere on the hillside or anywhere. And the zoning, there are a lot of really good pieces as far as what can be built that are different from the zoning that's currently available. So I'm hoping that there's a commitment that we'll have extra meetings and we'll get through this and meet with the public in a timely way and hear from them. And then work towards nailing down the zoning bylaw. So just for information, the next committee of the whole, which is on July the 5th, will be solely dedicated for our zoning bylaw. Would council like to have a planner present? We could see if McElhaney is available. I also reached out to Jeff Long, who is a local planner. He used to work at the regional district and does contract work. He would be willing, he's local, and he would be willing to assist us. My concern is that we might sort of spin our wheels a little bit if there's some things that we're not quite sure of, and a planner might be helpful. Thoughts? Head Councillor Downey.
I appreciate Jeff Long's credentials and what his talents. My preference would be to stay with McElhaney. He is already privy to the discussions that have happened to get us this far. When I looked at our zoning bylaw and I consider what I've heard, it appears to me that our categories are too broad. We have too many items under a single heading, which isn't addressing the needs of the community or the current property owners or our future vision. So I think that if we're going to bring somebody in, it should be McElhaney. And I will also just remind council that the seniors advocate is here July 5th. I will only be in the room until about 10 o'clock and I will be meeting for that.
That is also if McElhaney is available on that day. Councillor Cole?
Well, without him, we should reschedule the meeting, really.
Well, we don't know if we have him or not. Yeah, we have to find out.
That's my suggestion. If he's unavailable, I think it's a good use of our time.
Okay.
Can I ask another question?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So I guess we're gonna move on. So there's gonna be no public statement out of this meeting about what we're doing on the zoning bylaw?
We can make a public statement if you
Well,
like.
that's what I wanted to do, to resitting the second reading, but I just want to say we are missing that opportunity to do a statement. You did indicate that we need to communicate it to the public. Maybe to the OCP, or maybe to the our CAL to communicate. that.
Committee's home, yeah, we can do that. We'll have dates, but I mean, we can make a simple statement. I mean, any one of us can make a statement to anybody that asks, or we could make it publicly through social media. Just a moment for Councillor Mitchell and then Councillor Downey, we can make a statement on social media, but at the committee of the whole, we'll actually have dates to report. But we could make a broad statement that it's going to go back out to public hearing. Councillor Mitchell and then Councillor Downey.
Well, I really like what Councillor Donnelly had to say. And because it cleared up why we're in this situation and made it very, very plain. And I would like to ask Counselor Downey to make that a public statement. Because it was just accurate. It just covered the bases. We didn't have adequate consultation during the OCP. And this is the result. We need to fix it. And that's sort of what you were saying. I can't use your words. You did good. So I'd like to see you just put that on ink, in ink and get it out there.
I can certainly do that. I actually was gonna make a motion to state that the motion in this meeting would be that the zoning bylaw will stay at second reading until we have our committee, of the whole meetings, and until we hold a public information meeting. That's my motion.
Okay. Gonna type that out for us, please, Connor, to make sure that's got captured correctly.
While he does that, I could speak to, I got up the official community plan, like the survey we did.
Mhm.
And it really did not. I would like to consider us to do another survey as well, but we can talk about that at the town meeting. But yeah, when you read that, it kind of covers OCP, but just does not even address any zoning issues.
The motion that the zoning bylaw will stay at second reading. Until council holds their committee of the whole meetings. And we go and we hold a meeting with the public. Actually, reword that,
Consultation.
hold a meeting, a committee of, and we hold a public information meeting. No, that was fine.
Did you consider the word consultation? Because like meeting to me or information is like, here's what we want to consult.
Absolutely,
I'm
yeah.
not-
Would you be amicable for sets dates at our committee of the whole meeting and holds a public consultation? Because it'll probably mean that insinuates we're only gonna have one committee of the whole, when we're probably gonna have quite a few.
Well, actually, and I did use meetings.
Okay, so just
Yeah.
the board meetings. Okay. All right, and that was moved by Counselor Downey, seconded by. Sorry, I missed who that seconded it. Okay, any further discussion on that? All those in favor? Opposed, carried, and that will be communicated to the public on our website and through social media. I actually believe also the town log is coming out, so we'll make sure that something gets included in the town log. Okay, please, thank you. Okay, next we have item 9A, Courtney Neal Annual Report 2021. Normally during a meeting, questions from the public, or we ask for input from the public at the end of the meeting. I'm going to ask at this time, because this is a time for the public specifically to do with the annual report. If there are any questions or comments that are stemming from this annual report that was made. What?
I would like to focus on the telephone.
Oh, actually, I have to ask that at the end. Right now, what we're doing, yeah, we're required by the community charter to file an annual report. So it just speaks from 2021, all of the highlights, the year in review. We're also required to ask if the public had any questions pertaining to the annual report. If anybody's here that had an opportunity to read it, or anybody who might be online. I can't see who might be online. Nobody right now? Okay. We'll just ask again, anybody has any questions about the annual report? Seeing none then, just a motion to, no motion needed. Okay, great. And so that will be filed to do it on the 30th, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, and statement of financial income.
Also
as well.
30th.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. 10A, This is just a ratification of a decision that council had made. I'm pleased to say that we have 30 registered in the babysitting course with a small waiting list.
Yeah, I can add, today I saw 10 more on the waiting list, so.
Oh,
There's a lot of interest, yeah.
okay. So I actually didn't think that there would be 10 more. Yeah.
I think it was close to 10.
So that's 40. It might be worth having 2 classes of 20 each then. Yeah, I don't know what's council's thought. I know preliminary, you guys gave an okay, but what do you think about? It wouldn't be doubled, actually. That base amount I found out stays the same, 2,845 stays the same. The only thing that increases is $18 per child and 1 more night in a hotel for the people who are delivering the service. So. What are your thoughts? Oh, Councillor Mitchell, you're on mute, sorry. I didn't hear that, but I saw you were talking.
Well, I would just move that we increase the funding to cover all the students that have applied.
Okay, so if we need a second day, have a second day.
Yeah.
All right. Seconder for that? Okay, any discussion? Go ahead, Councillor Downey.
My thoughts initially were that 30 might be registered, but you know, lives and plans change. And perhaps we will just land with 30. However, teaching a class of 30 versus, you know, smaller classes might be beneficial for the children as well as, you know, which is what we're looking for, right? So I support Councillor Mitchell's motion.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay. Check. Council reports. Councillor Downey, you had something you wanted to report?
The seniors advocate, Isabel McKenzie, is coming to the North Island on July 4th and 5th. July 4th, she'll be in Port Hardy, and July 5th here in Port McNeill. So the meeting is being held with the public from 10:30 till 12. And she has asked if council would like to meet with her. She is willing to sit down with council separately if we would like that. So I would ask council perhaps just some input, and we can see what our schedules look like, or perhaps we could even just share a meal with her after the event.
So the event goes till 1 o'clock,
No, it was till noon,
till noon. Okay.
10:30 till 12.
Oh, okay.
And where is it being held?
Being held at the community hall. The doors open at 10:15. You will see posters up around town, and it'll be hitting social media as well. There will be coffee, baked goods, fruit and cheese plates. So we will have food. She'll do a brief presentation and then be available to answer questions for people. So the meeting is open to all ages. It's for seniors and or their caregivers. So we have some people who are coming just because they happen to work in a position where they have interact quite frequently with seniors and are faced with a lot of questions. So there is no age limit for this. It is open to all.
Be nice if we could have lunch with her afterwards, maybe have it catered in the council chambers. Or at a restaurant, whatever's. You want to see when she's available and get back to council?
I will do that.
Okay, thank you. Any other council reports? No? Okay, item 11, there are no items from in camera to be made public. But I need a motion that council go in camera to community charter section 91C and E, closing the meeting to the public regarding labor relations or other employee relations.
So moved.
Hang on a second, just a moment.
I'm sorry, I did not make a note of this and it just came to mind. In the harbor document that we received, the report, there is actually a question for council embedded in there. Sorry, just let me pull this out. And it's timely regarding the washrooms. That's why I'm bringing this forward here. Just regarding the harbor shower upgrade stage of the project. When we last met, staff had brought forward a request to increase the budget to accommodate the price changes that have happened since we first received some quotes. Councillor Barron had asked at our last meeting if we would consider going to tender right now, putting out an RFP for a facility that has been drafted up already. She had quite a report for us. And so that was the question, is what about preparing a package that we can have people bid on? And the idea was to put out the package with the schematics and the needs, but not necessarily, to Councillor Mitchell's point early in our term, was, you know, if we say the budget's 180 or 150 or 120, that's what we're gonna get a quote at. So is that something that council is amenable to, or, you know, we want to discuss this elsewhere? But I know that if we don't get going on this, we are gonna lose time and it'll be another season.
I'm just gonna refer, because I think there's, within the tender process, there's certain steps, so.
Through the chair, so my memory of our last meeting was that the harbor was gonna come back with the schematic of what we wanted. Is that correct?
Mhm.
And then we would put it to RFP. So an RFP is basically saying, this is what we want. You tell us how we're gonna get there. So without that from the harbor advisory group, I think we need that. And we had asked, I think, Anne Marie. to
And
come back
was
with a
gonna, yeah,
report.
that's what I understood,
that.
yeah.
Okay, so I've misread then, item 3.4. They're waiting council decision on the project progression, following the harbor advisory's
Yeah,
recommendation.
so in our last, council reports, Anne Marie had brought it forward and we had asked for an actual kind of report that we could add to bring to time.
Okay, sorry, you know what I'm seeing? This is a report, our harbor report is for the month of May,
Yeah.
even though it's the end of June. Okay,
Okay,
sorry for the disruption.
no, that's okay. All right, so a motion that we go in camera under community charter section 91 C and E, closing the meeting regarding labor relations, other employer relations, and acquisition and disposition of land or improvements. Moved, seconded by Councillor Mitchell. All those in favor? Opposed, carried. I should have said earlier, there were no items that we made public from in camera. Any questions? Do we have media or anybody on there? Okay, any questions from the public?
Now,
Yeah.
so the phone we're talking about, is it inside the store?
No, it's on the outside. It's by the pot machines, I believe. Yeah.
Okay, so if they aren't in agreement to, keep it there, is there somewhere else it can be moved to?
I guess we'll ask that question, yeah.
Because we do have a lot of tourists that come here, and I know there's, you know, a lot of seniors that don't have cell phones, and there's kids that could be in trouble that don't have cell phones, and they still have, access to call an operator in an emergency without having any money.
Yeah, and to Councillor Cole's point earlier, if there was a cost involved, and IGA doesn't want to bear that cost, then it could come back to council and look at having one by the visitor info center or somewhere else.
Thanks, I just think we should have one working public phone in the town.
Any other questions? So, motion please to adjourn and go in camera. By Councillor Cole, seconded by Councillor Downey. All those in favor? Opposed, carried. Thank you very much, everybody, for attending this evening.
It's all right.
Thanks.
You guys are guns for punishment. Well, we have to meet your citizens.